mean, should we believe everything we hear?
No,
I mean,
and even
I'm not the kind of person that does. I mean, you just don't know what's true, what's not. You know.
Yeah, and even like what I said, and a lot of it I said is speculation. People shouldn't just click on and say, "Oh, he's telling the truth." Don't be naive. Don't look. I'm telling my version of truth. I've said some of its opinion, but I'm hinting to you. Maybe you go and inquire yourself. Like I think the Aran Islands and Errigal Mountain are very important in Irish history. I really believe that.
Why?
I think
Not just like Donegal history, but Irish history.
Yeah. I think it's a long story. That's a personal belief, a very strong belief. But
I think to hear a shortened version.
If people went and took a look down, I think there's markings in the landscape that can only be seen from above. This is going to sound a bit weird. Now, do people have astral dreams? Could they go up in a tethered balloon? I don't know. But you've seen, or people can Google it now because they mightn't have heard this word before. In Peru, there's things called the Nazca lines. And they're lines in the landscape, and they only make sense if they're seen from above. And it's a lovely novelty, and it's well recognised. I can't explain it. But when we were putting satellite tags on golden eagles, you were following the golden eagle around the Derry Mountains initially. And when we started off in 2005, you wouldn't believe this, but it's a fact. I've got screenshots of it. So you get a pinpoint, a grid location of where the golden eagle was roosting that night. And at that time, from 2005 to about 2016, Derry Mountains were the only place in Europe covered in snow. They hadn't covered in cloud. They hadn't put on the slices to show the landscape. They just never got around to it. You're saying, "Feck," it was only you couldn't really see the landscape. But in 2016, that changed, and they filled in all the cells. So all of Donegal now, Bing, Google, whatever system you want, you can look down on the landscape. And I was doing that a lot, probably more than other people because I was following golden eagles.
Like, and when you're saying down, do you mean like Google Maps?
Yeah, you're on a computer and you're looking down, but it's an aerial satellite view. So in terms, I'd have the map next to me. I used to use a map all the time. Where's that eagle going to nest? Where's it roosting? That might be good for food. Where's the nearest place to get there in terms of walking? You'd be using maps all the time. Then it all came onto the computer. Happy days. But you'd be looking down, like looking down on a map, and you'd see things. And I think there's some lake shapes that have been cut out by human hands. They make sense if you're above. You'll not see it along the plain, but if you get above, so I think Errigal is important if you look down on it. I think the Aran Islands is important if you look down on it, and I think in time people will say, "That's mad. What do you mean?" I said, "Well, maybe people were able to go up in a balloon using tree sap, whether it's a skin." Or
so you're saying there's the potential that people had these kind of balloons. They made these balloons and were able to go up.
Yeah.
And what was the purpose?
Maybe just to look down.
And what would they gain from that?
Well, they could see in a distance. In theory, there's some talk of it over in Japan that they were shooting arrows out of it.
Arrows out of
the balloon, or they elevated an enemy. They're in a higher position,
right?
Yeah, and they could see the landscape. Maybe they could design something. I'm not sure. I live in ignorance.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of people who read the Bible and believe in angels. There's other people looking at Sumerians and they believe in aliens. I don't believe in aliens. I'll pass on angels. I don't know. But I'm just wondering, with the Nazca lines as an example, there are lines in the landscape in Peru. And
what were what's the lines? What was the benefit of them?
All different shapes. That there's hummingbirds, there's monkeys.
But I mean, what was the purpose of them? Sorry, I'm trying to picture it here. If I'm standing on a hilltop, am I looking down? Am I seeing straight lines or what? Or
yeah, I'm not. I wonder, can you see them from a hilltop? I don't know. It's a big tourist.
But you're saying more of an elevated height, like with a balloon potentially? Yeah.
And one guy tried it, but there's tourists who go there and they have to get in a small biplane, to look down on the landscape. So what was the reason? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. This is over in, you'll find it pretty easy. Nazca, Nazca, Nazca lines in Peru.
Okay, but so if they built the balloon, say, in Donegal, right, how would they have built the balloon? And I'm still not understanding the purpose. You're saying maybe to shoot an enemy?
No, I'm saying that happened in Japan.
Okay,
I
Japan,
think,
but in Donegal, say,
I
in
think
Ireland,
maybe
like.
just to look at the landscape, or we'll see. I think there's just an inquiry now, but I think if you were to make a balloon, we hear a lot about case and baskets, and in Irish myth there is talk of a spare van, a sky lady. Like a lot of countries in the world talk about sky beings, and we were saying that's myth. Maybe it was myth. Maybe one or two, say a small percentage, over 10,000 years, did 2 or 3 really intelligent people come together, and if there's no doubt they could make the basket. I think everyone will recognise that.
Yeah.
They can make the ropes. Everyone understands that. Were they able to do really tight stitching of skins, seal skins, bear skins? Were they able to sew materials, linen, flax, nettle? You know, you can use nettle wires. Hemp would have been a big one for growing. And they could have stitched them together. Probably leaky. They probably wouldn't go too far. Then how do you make the balloon lift? You need heat.
Yes.
Yeah, heat, right? So what about steam? Steam, and you might get 500 yards. You might get 200 yards, you might fall on your belly. They could use tree sap. They could use heated stones.
So how would the tree sap work?
It would be fuel. Tree sap's pretty...
They'd light it up, yeah. So they'd have a small thing to light.
Of a container, and they'd heat it.
Do they need a steel container then of sorts? Maybe stone?
Bone,
okay.
Yeah. So did they just heat up?
But they'd need a lot though, wouldn't they?
They would.
Need, like,
and they'd use up a lot.
Yeah. So it'd have to be fairly big, like.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to say like the modern day hot air balloons,
but if you think about the concept of it, hot air balloons is gas. They don't really use steam.
It's gas. It's not heat, no.
It is heat. Yeah.
The air's hot, like.
Yeah.
It's lighter. It makes it go up. Yep.
The air goes up, and I think people who are looking at nature. Have you ever seen a golden eagle soar, spiral? It won't flap. You ever see that?
I know. I have seen it on TV yet, not in person.
Yeah. So that's hot air, thermals going up. The bird sits on it. It doesn't have to flap. You see smoke, hot air going up. So I think people knew that hot air went up. That's not rocket science, is it? They might have seen a bubble. Sometimes at the edge of the seashore, a bit of foam. Splash and the bubble will lift up. I think over time they could have learned that hot air goes higher. So I think it's possible. You won't find any of that stuff because it's fairly organic. And the fuel, they were collecting tree resin for waterproofing, houses and weapons and boats, pitch and boat skins and that. They were sometimes using resin maybe to cover a wound, almost like a membrane or plaster. They were drinking resin, methanol, pretty strong stuff. It's recorded where...
when you say methanol, this isn't the people stuff like...
This is like raw alcohol.
Yeah.
It'd be like poaching, the version of poaching. Yeah. So the indigenous people occasionally, I don't know how they dilute it, I've never done it, but like the Russians would have had birch sap, methanol. It'd be like methylated spirits. It would knock you, it would probably kill you if you didn't do it correctly. But that is pure fuel. And it's curious, as I said, I've gone out on a limb there. But I've said it to some people, what would happen if people had balloons in the past and we didn't know about it? And they laugh at me and say, sure, that would change everything. If a person from Ireland was able to go to Britain in a balloon 5,000 years ago, I'm just saying it. I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm saying if. But, it's impossible. Well, I'm just saying if they'd have the ability, was it possible? People have spoken about special people in the past that coming in the clouds. That's a pretty common thing now in myth. And you'll see it in the Bible, you'll see it in Greek philosophy, Greek myth, you'll see it in Sumerian myth about the sky people. Now, are all these people wrong? Maybe they were wrong. But is it possible that a small percentage of people had a limited amount of balloon transport, balloon travel? It's curious, and I don't know the answer. But
where did you hear about this, or like the concept or theory, or is it just?
It's just worked on over time. I've never read about it anyway.
Yeah.
I've never read it. I've never heard about it from anyone. But
Is it like stories and stuff that you've?
It's words and wondering how people associated with cranes moved around. There's a lot of talk in Irish myth about chariots. We're told the chariots, 2 wheels, and they're racing around the countryside. And I'm just wondering whether chariot was another word for balloon movement.